Hello and welcome to another episode of Gully to Gully. I understand that the frequency has dropped. There's a big tournament coming up soon, so we thought we'd cover that. First things first, the frequency of the episodes has slightly dropped, but that's also because of your lack of support. But anyways, that's irrelevant. But most importantly, we've had a few life changes, both of us respectively. So we've been busy with new additions to our respective families. That's been keeping us pretty occupied over the past few months. But rest assured, we will keep our commitment to you guys and bringing these episodes to you as and when, hopefully with more frequency.
In true partnership style, Zahid and I chose to have our new additions come within 3 days of each other. So, um, if ever there was a coincidence, that would be it. But yes, no, absolutely. And look, I mean, there isn't a bigger tournament in the world than the Asia Cup to actually get us back talking about cricket. There is a lot of sarcasm in that statement, but
On,
nevertheless,
on the on the note of sarcasm, maybe we should also touch upon the third biggest tournament, which was the Pakistan Afghanistan UAE Tri Series in Sharjah. Maybe that will feed into this little preview as well. But
yeah,
maybe
I
we'll
mean
cover that
that.
when we talk
I
about
mean,
Pakistan.
I had that on, and I had some friends over, and they were like, "Oh, is this a warm up game?" Because the quality of the presentation and coverage felt like it was a warm up, and I'm like, "No, this is supposedly the second, third, and fourth best teams in Asia having a go at each other. So it's absolutely not. But I completely agreed with them, right? Because the coverage was just so bizarre. Like you had commentators who probably
Yeah.
barely, got out of bed. Like, they've haven't been on the circuit for a long time, and then you have these weird ramblings. It was rather odd, and
Yeah.
and obviously the matches themselves. I mean, obviously with Pakistan, no match is ever boring. I mean, we make everything interesting. I love the scorer on Cricinfo, I think it was, who labeled our our win against the UAE by 25-30 runs as emphatic. I wonder what adjective he'd use today to describe the demolition job that happened at the hands of India. But look, we've talked about a lot of things, right? So let's just narrow it down, right? The first and most important thing is the Asia Cup, right? As part of that, we cover Pakistan's preparation, which includes this tri series review. And then we just shed a bit of light on India because obviously it's a new look squad, right? Familiar names not there, retired, but still very, very
And
threatening.
most importantly, the handshakes that did and maybe did not happen.
Yes, of course, and trust our media to make that a headline. I've seen both sides. I mean, you could flip the photo across multiple different ways, but I will say Mohsin Naqvi and Surya Kumar Yadav did shake hands. That's the important thing that I saw on video. So, right today, I mean, Surya Kumar Yadav shaking hands, probably one of the most powerful men in Pakistan. So yeah, there you go. So that should put everything else to bed. Who's Salman Aga? When it's Mohsen Naqvi who's shaking hands. But anyways, look, as I think when we talk about the Asia Cup, right? I mean, obviously the obvious place to start is the format, right? It's T20 because that's the format of importance now, with the next World Cup being a T20 World Cup. But the format I was referring to was more in terms of having India and Pakistan have play each other, right?
Yeah.
And I know they always do this for the fans, but as a Pakistani, I hate it because it's like it makes the second game that Pakistan plays that much more important because
Yeah.
it's almost a foregone conclusion, right? I mean, yes, in
Yeah.
a T20 game, anything can happen. Upsets are more likely. But
Yeah.
to be honest with you, like, the format plays itself in such a way that, it actually just plays to India's hands. I mean, they have a,
Yeah.
their ultimate favorites. And if anything, if I was Sri Lanka or Afghanistan and all, I quite like that it's done this way, right? So because it gives them a good chance of progressing at the other end.
I'm not sure about because that kind of means that they're technically in the so-called group of death, right? Because they've got three of the big those three teams, and two of those will go through. Whereas on paper, you would expect Pakistan to at least beat UAE and Oman. Although Pakistan's beaten UAE twice now, so there's law of
Yeah.
averages would suggest for Pakistan that an upset
Yeah, but
is
no, but
around
if
the
you think
corner.
about right, if you give Afghanistan the choice, right, of being in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, or India, Afghanistan, and UAE, they'd easily pick India, Afghanistan, and UAE, right? Because that gives them
Yeah,
an easy way in, as opposed to if they
yeah,
were in a
maybe.
group with, let's say, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan. You see what I mean? That would be an even bigger group of death.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I guess it makes sense, but yeah, it's the tournament is always designed to make it a 3x India Pakistan, but I don't think that's ever happened. So
it's never happened. It's jinxed. In 2022, it was India who lost out.
and yeah, 2023. By the way, this just a bit of now that we're talking about it, we should probably cover this in the intro. Is I think our episodes or whatever our series started at the 2023 Asia Cup, right? That's where we started off from, and 2 years later, here we are.
So many people,
Nothing
the
has changed.
eagle-eyed amongst you will realize that we're probably the bad luck charm for Pakistan. Have you seen those memes that they went to Colombo and never returned? Have you seen those eyes about Pakistan? We were
Yeah,
the number one team, and then they went to what is it? No, it wasn't Palakelli. I think it was for the 2-day, 1-day international, and they
yeah.
never returned. Where did they all go after that game? So ever since we started our coverage, it's all been downhill for Pakistan. So sorry about that. I guess we demotivate them, as I'm sure they've been logging on every evening to watch us. So
But yeah, I think we are going back to the preview, and then maybe we start with Pakistan. Firstly, I guess the squad. I mean, it is what it is now. There's obviously nothing's going to change. I think the Tri Series, as good as it was for exposure, and some people say confidence or whatever for winning it. It just, from my point of view, again, with that pessimistic eye, it's just raised a lot more questions. Of course, Babar and Rizwan are gone, and that's, I think, a good thing overall, especially the way the T20 game is evolving. And maybe, this is a way to look at it from Pakistan's point of view that you probably look at this tournament as a bit of a write-off and more of a work in progress. I know that's not going to happen, especially after you get thrashed by India. But I've never felt so underconfident in Pakistan's abilities. Like, to be honest, I was expecting Afghanistan to like win the Tri Series, and I thought they were the favorites. And here as well, I think Pakistan are probably third, if not the fourth team in my mind. So yeah, very little expectations. And that's also because again, a lot of these players that have been picked on PSL performances.
yeah.
Sajjad Farhan, he had all his goodwill, and that seems to be disappearing, especially on the dismissals that the way he gets out with that back of a length delivery, trying to hoik it across the line, going out too many times doing that, whether it's top edging a pull shot or mistiming a pull shot or getting bowled. Um, I mean, Mohammad Haris, I don't know what his role is in the team. The fact that we're relying on Fahim Ashraf to bail us out every time with the bat. Yeah, there's this Saeem Ayub is inconsistent as ever. Fakhar Zaman is inconsistent as ever. And I know we always have this debate about Fakhar Zaman, but I think Fakhar Zaman in T20s, I don't ever remember him, apart from those 2 sixes to Mitchell Stark, 3 sixes against Mitchell Stark in 2021. I don't remember Fakhar Zaman innings in T20 cricket. Um, Fast bowling, I think Shine Field has improved at least for the last couple of years. He seems to be a bit smarter with his bowling, maybe not with his pace. But again, the quality of the opposition is questionable. And I guess the only bright spark is the two spinners. At least they give some hope. Sufyan and Abrar, the question is whether both of them will play. So I've said a lot, covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. So look, I
But
mean, yeah, there's a lot to unpick there, right? And I think let's focus on the batting first, because that's been obviously the kryptonite for Pakistan for a long time. Look, let's address the elephant in the room, right? Babar and Rizwan not being part of the squad is absolutely 100% the right decision. Okay, if we revert back to the age-old Pakistan tactics of dropping them, giving our youngsters a go, and then when it comes to a big tournament, realizing, oh no, no confidence in our youngsters, just bring back the old, I don't want to call them cronies, but like, the old war horses. It just sends a really bad message. We've done it so many times in the past, not least of all in 2024 when we reinstated Babar as captain. But there's so many instances in the past where we've just reverted back to the senior, you know, the you know. The senior statesman, if you like, and the senior guards to come back and save the day, and that doesn't often happen. So we need to trust the system. As cliched as I sound, I think that is the right decision. Now, look, we have to then accept that when it comes to a change in approach, you will get these results, right? And the reason for that now, many people will say, "Oh, well, England didn't." We don't remember England failing so much. They turned a corner pretty quickly. They were out in the 2015 World Cup, and then a couple of months later against Pakistan in the UAE, after losing the first one-day international, they just turned a corner, right? So it was a lot easier for them. The reason for that is because their domestic cricket had already started developing a fresher brand of cricket. The only issue was those players were getting overlooked because they didn't have the right technique. But Eoin Morgan changed that philosophy. But they already had that structure in place from the get-go. So the players were already working towards that standard. Right? You had the you had the T20 championships, and you had obviously county cricket attracts a lot more international cricket. So cricketers. So it's not, you're not comparing like for like. But I genuinely believe that if you stick with the approach, it's a question of execution. Now, I'm not saying that trying to hit every ball for six is the answer. I think Hassan Nawaz will need to learn from that. Hassan Nawaz is far and away the brightest talent we have in that middle order. No question about it, right? But the issue is he does not have that game awareness, right? You can be aggressive. You can be, you can have all that intent in the world, and yet be smart about the deliveries that you pick to hit, and also your timing for when you choose to go after bowlers and which bowlers to go after. Hassan Nawaz, I remember it was against Afghanistan. He hit a six, and then he thought he let his blood rush to his head, and he tried to go again. And Salman Agha is
against Rashid Khan.
And yes, so that's what I mean when it comes to timing, right? I mean, just think of who and which bowler you're going after. I mean, you're going after probably, in my opinion, the best T20 spinner for a long time, right? I mean, this guy specializes in this. He's fast in the air, easy, and literally, he's a guy who the god of Pakistan cricket, Babar Azam, has not been able to pick. Like, let's just give a bit of respect where it's warranted. Trying to hit him for like another six is ridiculous. Like, and if you look at Salman Agha, even though he's the anchor in the team, you notice he is, to his credit, very smart about when he puts his foot on the pedal, and when he's got that momentum, he doesn't try and throw it away, right? And there is a very fine line there, and it's called game awareness. That line is called game awareness, right? England don't try to hit every ball for six. If you actually watch the Jason Roy, Johnny Bairstow partnerships of 2019, right? Or you even look at Joss Butler. Yes, the highlights package will always have his ramp shots, his sweep shots, his sixes, his fours. But in between that, there is a lot of strike rotation. There is a lot of quick singles, quick twos, even blocks, dot balls, whatever, and especially against the high quality bowlers in the opposition's attack. So I think that's just the point there on execution. And look, I'm sure Mike Hessen is trying to drill that down. It takes time. Now, there are 2 points you made that I want to just touch on, and I think we can debate it.
Just before you go there.
Oh yeah,
Hassan Nawaz, right? So, well, on Salman, I think the thing that he did well against Rashid was the few sixes he hit he was sensible, using his pace. I think a couple of them were like cross batted over, not fine leg, but like long leg, right? And so it was sensible. Whereas Hassan tried to go straight over the top and once succeeded, once didn't. But also for some reason, his the way Hassan Nawaz gets out every time, it just looks really ugly. It's like,
Really
those
bad.
A
Yeah.
ball type cricketers, and for all his talent, it looks very, very ugly when he gets out. It's like a hoik and top edge. Yeah, it's like you say, it's something he needs to work on. But anyways, back to your 2 points.
Look, I think the first point is Haris, Mohammad Haris. Now, and I think that Mohammad Haris's point is actually closely linked to Saibzada Farhan. To accommodate Saibzada Farhan, Mohammad Haris had to change his role in the team. He was originally in the team as a number three. And the advantage of having him at number three is one, the ball is newer. The ball comes off the bat faster. And also, more importantly, he comes in most often during the last couple of overs of the power play. Right. So there is that benefit. He keeps the momentum going. There's a very big difference between coming in when you're 20 for one and when you're 70 for five. Right. I mean, there is like it's or 70 for four, sorry. Whatever it is, I mean, it's very different. Now, you had groomed Haris to be that number three, right? And Salman Aga gives you that cushion at number four in case he fails. But to accommodate Saibzada Farhan and bringing Fakhar Zaman at number three, and Sammy, you obviously opening with Farhan, you've ended up in a position where Mohammad Haris has to be the pinch hitter, right? And in order to accommodate that, you actually have a rather unconventional number seven in Mohammad Nawaz, who isn't really a pinch hitter. If anything, he's almost like the Salman Agha school of batting, which is a bit like an anchor who can accelerate when necessary. But Pakistan have had to do that because you've got Haris at six, and Haris is inconsistent, and you're giving yourself that extra cushion at number seven of a stable batter should all hell break loose, and you end up with Fahim Ashraf and Mohammad Nawaz saving the day. But I guess I do have some sympathy there for Haris. And the other point is, I think he unfortunately has a bit of a sacrificial role in the team, right? He has to come in and he has to start going from ball one, with the exception of the final against Afghanistan. There, I thought it was a massive lack of application when the game was not demanding that he do that. But in other games, he has a role in the team. And he needs to be someone who is not judged on his average, but by his strike rate, right? When he comes off, he's really good. And I'm hoping that as he gets accustomed to be batting lower down the order, his results and his performances will improve. But he does have that role in the team, unfortunately, where there will be moments when he'll be out for below 10 quite often. It sort of reminds me of Asif Ali a bit, right? And everybody completely cast a blind eye on Asif Ali for a good 12 to 18 months because of those sixes against Afghanistan and New Zealand. So it's just and there is a part of Haris knowing that his place is completely ironclad because who else will keep, right? So whether there's a tactical point of always having Rizwan in the squad. Now, many international viewers will be like, well, I mean, I'm sure these sportsmen are professionals. Why do you need that? And I'm like, well, in Pakistan, you need it. Complacency, unfortunately, creeps in far too quickly. So maybe there's a bit of that. I don't know. But that's the point on Haris. It'd be good to just understand your perspective there, right? Because obviously the alternative is Rizwan comes back, right? I mean, we don't really have another alternative that we've groomed. And I just don't think Rizwan's the answer.
Well, now it's too late anyway. I think we'll have to stick with Haris. I'm not very optimistic about it. I think if Pakistan don't have a good campaign, I think he will probably be the one who will definitely be sacrificed among a few others, maybe. Just because I think and you say don't look at his average and stats and whatever, but again, apart from that 28 against South Africa and 100 against Bangladesh, he must have played like 20, 30 T20s, right? At least 25. I don't remember any other innings. And even
But
that
what
100
about New
against Bangladesh
Zealand?
was
No?
100.
There was that game against New Zealand, right? When Hassan Nawaz scored the 100 and then
Oh,
he
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I get the point. But again, I remember in that game he opened. So the guy has also been up and down the order a lot, right?
In T20, that's fine. I mean, that's not a
True, true, true.
yeah. So
So
I'm less optimistic about him. I get your point, and I think and I guess his failures are a bit more exaggerated or a bit more magnified because of the rest of the team is not doing well. So, I guess that kind of comes out to it. If the rest of the players are doing well, Pakistan was scoring 200, 220 every game, and he was coming in and failing, I think it's okay. That's fine. Just because of his role. But because the team is not doing well, okay, fine, they won this random try series, but his performance was abysmal. So I just don't see a future for him. And again, it's some part is about aesthetics. Sometimes he just looks like he doesn't know what's happening. Again, like against Afghanistan. Okay, there's getting out to good balls, but there's one thing that's being absolutely clueless and not having an idea of where the ball is spinning. I mean,
I agree.
it's like
I agree.
really basic. And you'll see when India or even Sri Lanka, when they come against the Afghanistan bowlers, like they will at least have sense of what to do or where to play. Whereas this was just 50-50 guessing, or is it coming in or going out? And really, it was a lottery for these guys. Not just Harris, but the rest as well. But Harris looked pretty atrocious in front of them.
Yeah,
Um,
but I do think he's better at the top of the order. If you ask him, he's a much better hitter against pace than against spin.
yeah.
Now, I do accept that in T20 cricket, you could have spinners open the bowling. So you can't say that. If you're in the T20 team, you need to be adept at hitting pace and spin because they can come on at any time. There's no hard and fast rule that the first 10 overs is nothing but pace and then the next 8 overs is spin. I mean, it's not like that. But the law of averages state that actually if you come in at number 6, you're more likely to face more overs of spin, right? And especially if you're like Pakistan and you end up being 4 wickets down at the 10 over mark, right? You're going to get quite a bit of spin for the next 5 overs. So that's, I think, a point in Harris's favor that, he could well be a much better hitter up the order against, when the Pacers are usually on, especially inside the power play. But I understand that he needs to evolve, and the role he's been given is fair, right? Sahibzada Farhan deserves his place in the team before this tri-series started. He needs to continue it, and I think this Asia Cup, he will also be under the scanner because, there are other players, in the ranks who may not be, who may not be getting the same sort of PR around them, but who can probably say that they're not that much worse when it comes to PSL records than Sahibzada Farhan. But okay, but that's Harris, right? So we've unpacked that a little. He will have a goal this Asia Cup, and I agree with you. He and Sahibzada Farhan, and it's a bit connected, those two guys. They're going to probably be under the scanner the most. Now, Fakhar Zaman. Right, Fakhar Zaman is probably one of the most misunderstood players in Pakistan, even by ourselves. I think you're very right. When it comes to his T20 credentials, not been anywhere near his ODI credentials. And it's one of those things that I struggle with understanding, right? Because it can't be so different, especially if you're a player like Fakhar Zaman, who's a strike rate sort of player, and yet very consistent when he gets going. You should be able to replicate that sort of formula in both ODIs and T20s. The only exception to that is if you're a Babar Azam type sort of player who, for whom ODIs is far more better suited than T20. But other than that, I mean, I struggle to see it. The only thing
that being said, sorry to cut you off. That being said, Babar Azam and Fakhar Zaman's T20 stats are not very
I
different.
know you're going to tell me what I've seen also. The strike rate of 129 versus 131. I'm going to come to that in a second. So it's great that we follow the same, we see the same memes and do the same sort of quick info analysis. But yes, 129 plays 131. I completely agree with that, right? That Fakhar. So the theory I've come up with on Fakhar is, yes, he's an absolute game changer when he gets it. Yes, he hits the ball, and he is an amazing striker of the cricket ball. But he takes time to get his eye in. He needs quite a few release shots before he completely gets going. Right? Even against Australia in the game in 2021, he had to get a few, sort of a couple of overs in, just to get his eye in, and he had a few lucky top edges that landed safely. So there is that side of his game which restricts that strike rate, because in instances where he gets out, having just tried to get his eye in but failed unsuccessfully, it'll probably be at a runner ball, or a little more than a runner ball, 110 maybe. right? So that brings down his strike. When he gets going, that strike rate will be at 170. Oh, no, 170, but like 150, right? 150, 155. So, you have that, but unfortunately, it hasn't been that often. And because he takes time and he then gets out, that reduces that strike rate. And also, I think in T20, the reason he doesn't excel is I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself when he takes time to get in. And I think you'll notice oppositions are a lot more flexible in their bowling rotation. So you'll have spinners or I should say right arm or who spin the ball away from Fakhar Zaman come in. You will never have leg spinners come in, and Fakhar likes space on the ball. So you'll either have on one end a right arm off spinner, and on the other end you'll probably have one of those medium pace bowlers who literally just bowl change of pace and cutters into the surface, right? Because you have a lot of that, I think Fakhar Zaman struggles a little, and he takes time and he puts pressure on himself. In ODI cricket, I think teams are still more conventional, where it's classic initial 10 overs based on the ball, etc. So that's my theory. Now, I'm still a massive Fakhar Zaman fan, but I do feel that I should criticize him, because every time I do criticize him, he proves me wrong. And I hope he'll prove me wrong, because he genuinely, I think number 3 is the place for him, right? Either he opens or he's number 3. He can't be lower than that. And that's another reason why his stats have stagnated in T20 cricket, because his role has changed a lot. He was opener, then he was made number 3, then he was made number 4 to accommodate Saim Ayub at the top. And of course, Babar and Rizwan were hell-bent on being at the top too. So all that put together means that, and I remember Usman Khan was promoted above Fakhar Zaman as well at one point. So, I mean, the guy has had to do a lot, but I do think he is due a big score, because he gets out in silly ways. He's also quite disappointed when he gets out, even after he's seen the ball quite well. And there'll come a point when people will start pointing fingers. They aren't yet, because there just isn't an alternative. And everyone still remembers that the game against New Zealand at the Chinnaswamy, which I guarantee you we would have lost had the game gone to completion. But I will leave it there. Biggest robbery in recent times. But never mind. That's my thought process, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I think Fakhar Zaman is highly inconsistent and is surviving here because I think the knives were out for Babar and Rizwan for longer. And Fakhar has played a couple of innings in other formats that has given him a slightly longer rope. But I just don't have. There's always that hope, similar, I guess, to the Shahid Afridi days, where that one innings will come off when it matters. But it's yeah.
Handicap Shahid Afridi.
Yeah.
Handicap, because Shahid Afridi had his bowling. What a
Yeah,
bowler.
exactly.
Right? That's the difference. So such is the sad state of times in Pakistan cricket, that we're having to do with an Afridi without his ability to bowl.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it's not a perfect team to be in, and I guess Fakhar Zaman and Salman Ali Agha, as the so-called senior pros, need to take some responsibility. If something goes, wrong, I think it's, like I said, probably Haris, Saeed Khan, and Fakhar Zaman, probably that might be that for them. With obviously the T20 World Cup next year in sight. But what I do hope is, they at least move on to somebody new from this batch rather than going back to the same old 2, 3 names that we discussed.
Well, I won't hold my breath there, but I think Mike Heston's pretty committed to it, right? I was, it's a refreshing bit of honesty, right? But now, actually, speaking of Mike Heston, what I'm actually most impressed about is how he's backed Mohammad Nawaz. Now, for those who followed Pakistan cricket in the last 3-4 years, Mohammad Nawaz has to be one of the unluckiest cricketers, right? Partly due to his own poor execution under pressure, but partly due to, I've seen other players have a bit of luck go their way, which Nawaz did, right? We remember Nawaz as the bowler who bowled that ball that shouldn't have been a no ball against Virat Kohli, was called, and then all that gets forgotten because he bowled a wide, right, where it's 2 of 1. Right, we remember him for that. We remember him for the game right after where he lost the game against Zimbabwe by trying the most against the odds hoik when you needed 3 of 2 and it became 3 of 1. We all remember Mohammad Nawaz as the guy who bowled against was it Maharaj in South Africa against South Africa 2023 World Cup 9 down. Somehow he gave Tabraiz Shamsi a single and he bowled way off his field. Did not according to his field against Maharaj. Babar Azam was so upset. So there are many instances of Nawaz letting us down. But behind all that, I think everyone who's been close to Pakistan cricket has always said that actually Nawaz is a solid all-rounder. Right? He showed glimpses of it in the Asia Cup in 2022 that he's still running off, I think, from the batting perspective. And his bowling in the past had been very consistent until he lost a bit of his mojo. But Mike Hesson certainly saw something in him. And then what I'm most impressed about is, if you remember, Mike Hesson had a soft corner for Shadab Khan because of Islamabad United.
Yeah.
And he in fact made a statement before he was made coach of Pakistan by saying, you cannot have a squad of the top 15 best players in T20 in Pakistan and not have Shadab Khan's name in it. So, he said if you're having a list of the top 15 T20 players in Pakistan, Shadab Khan has to be there. Right? He's a 360 player, fielding, batting, bowling, and all that. And look, part of me felt like, yes, he could have been. And there were times when I was a massive fan of Shadab because of that 360 package. But for whatever reason, he's just half the player he used to be. I had no problems with that game, but what I liked about Mike Hesson is he gave Shadab Khan a go. Shadab Khan, he was made vice captain. He, in fact, actually had a couple of good games where I think either his batting saved his place in the team or his bowling, but it was always a bit of here and there, right? He get a lot of wickets, would go for lots of runs against weaker teams. But Mike Hesson saw through that, right? And it's quite clear now. I know Shadab Khan had a bit of an injury, but Mohammad Nawaz has proved himself to be the better alternative amongst the two. And it's clear that Mike Hesson has now preferred him. I think Shadab Khan is fit, if I understand correctly.
I think he is fit, but like us, I think he's had a new addition to his family, so maybe he might be on some special leave.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe that. But I do think Mike Hesson has backed Nawaz, and I think it's the coaches.
Yeah.
The big criticism of coaches, sometimes they find it difficult. Like they make a big statement publicly, and they feel that they have to wait till that proves itself to be true. Rather, and they think it's against their ego and against their judgment to actually change their view because it'll show them to be weak, or they'll be perceived to be not good decision makers, or not have good judgment. But actually it's the opposite. You need to always evolve, and I like that Mike Hesson did that. My bigger question is which spinners play, right? I know Abrar Ahmed has completely capitalized on the opportunities he's got, even though the incumbent, in my view, in the T20 format was Sufyan Mukim. I really hope Sufyan plays, Zahid. I really hope he does. I know Abrar Ahmed outshone him, but I do think the left-arm Chinaman package, as we saw today, I know Kuldeep Yadav is a better quality bowler, but still, it is something different. And I don't think Abrar Ahmed is any longer that much of a difference, right? I mean, the mystery spinners always become less mysterious over time when you play more against them. So I don't know. Against India, I think Sufyan will be more of a threat. So that's my view. But something inside tells me that they may go with Abrar Ahmed because he performed well against India in the Asia Cup ODI game and probably is a little more experienced or whatever. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think they'll play both unless you think otherwise.
I doubt it. I think going with Shaheen plus Fahim is a
plus Haris.
Bit of a if you play Haris, then you can't play the two spinners.
Oh, you're saying if you go Shaheen, Fahim, and the spinners, that's too much of a risk. Yeah,
which is what they actually did in the final against Turkmenistan, right? But and to be fair, that's a similar combination with what India went with against UAE, where they had Pandya and Bumrah, but then that's Bumrah, and then they had three spinners. So yeah, but I don't think Pakistan will do that. I think they'll have that cushion. Plus, because they've got the added benefit of having Sam Ayub and Salman Agha and all the others who can spin it a little bit.
Exactly, and
So
I rate
and
all of them
Nawaz.
to
So yeah,
some
that's
extent
yeah. So
completely.
maybe that's why.
And
I
also, I
would have
think
loved to see Sufyan team, but yeah,
Haris Rav, despite going for runs, I think he does pick up wickets, right? He is a good guy
yeah,
to have. Like, although I do criticize him quite a bit, like if other teams had someone like Haris Rav and also those spin bowling, batting all rounders that we have, I think it would have been a
yeah,
bit different, right? And I think we
yeah,
feel we clearly need Fahim's depth at 8 because you have, and again, it's the same problem that England have always had, right? Where they feel they've had to bat extra deep because of their style of play, right?
yeah,
The times when they didn't do that, I remember in the ODI format World Cup against South Africa when they then had to chase 360, when they only went with 6 batters,
yeah.
and I think you know the result. But anyways, yeah, I mean, look, we've talked a lot about Pakistan, right? I mean, do we think they're going to win the Asia Cup? No. Do we think they'll make the
Oh,
final? Not so sure. But I do think this is the best squad we have. I don't really have much disagreement around it. Could we spring an upset against India? Who knows? If it was anybody else, I would have said yes. But I think the nerves of an India-Pakistan game for a lot of these players for whom it's probably their first India-Pakistan game is a point of consideration. And it is more acute in Pakistan than it is in India, just for the simple reason that the IPL, the pressure that these guys face in the IPL is at par. Right? I mean, they're
yeah,
used to high-pressure games in their domestic franchise leagues compared to us. And I think that gives them a good
yeah,
grounding. Right? And also you have
yeah.
the weight of I don't know whether it's a plus or a minus the fact that India have had a better record of late against Pakistan, and I'm sure that plays into it.
Yeah. And although, on paper, India's squad is new as well. Obviously, the big two have gone, or the big three have gone, if you include Jadeja. But still, they've got a lot of T20 pedigree, right? And they've got
A
players,
lot.
again, who are flamboyant. And I guess Shubman Gill, of all people, is that one so-called anchor in the team with all these fancy stroke hitting batters around him.
I mean, it's incredible,
Uh,
right? Let's be honest.
exactly, right?
It's
So
just yeah.
it is sort of like the Harlem Globetrotters kind of equivalent, right? Where you've got all these fancy players, Abhishek Sharma, Sky, Sanju Samson, all those players who were, I guess, except for Sky, who were kind of the shadows of Rohit and Kohli, and now they've got the chance to come to the fore and show it. And the likes of Jaiswal are not even in the squad, right? So, I mean, yeah, they are. I think they are in the Asia Cup. This is probably in recent memory like the biggest clear favorites in recent times. I think maybe in 22, 23, you could have argued maybe Pakistan were still, at least in the T20 to 22 one, or Pakistan were, you could have said they were in the conversation.
No, and even 23. Come
23,
on,
yeah.
guys, we
No,
were the number
with
one
Pakistan's
ODI team in
bowling,
the
yeah.
world.
Yeah,
We were
exactly.
number one
Right. So you
ODI
thought
team.
yeah. And then, okay. And then India Pakistan final was, I guess, the bookies' favorite as well. But now I don't think
Yeah, and
that's the
also,
case. Maybe it might be. I don't know. But
and
in
remember,
terms of single winning, I think India is way ahead.
yeah, and 2023 also we had that first game where we had restricted them to 60 for 4, and suddenly right, because Pakistan had made a remember we had this big campaign to show those 3 fast bowlers on all the billboards. Do you remember Shaheen, Naseem, and then Haris looking like that, in the back. They
Yeah.
had all that propaganda. And in fact, I even see now, I mean, Sanal Aga's spending a lot of his time modeling, but effectively, right, you're very right. I think this is the first Asia Cup in the last, 3-4 years, really. I think before 2022, we hadn't had an Asia Cups until the pre-COVID one in 2018. So, yeah, absolutely. This is the first time where it's India and then it's everybody else, right? It's not like it's India,
Yeah.
Pakistan, then everybody else, and before that, it's not like it was India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and everybody else. Like this is out and out India, right? Despite the new faces in that squad, right? Which just goes to show their depth in that bench is unprecedented. What a big gap players like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli leave in the team, and you barely feel it because you've got Shubman Gill who's shown himself across formats. I mean, he wasn't even in the T20 team. Right? And
Yeah.
Sanju Samson, these guys, they captain multi-billion-dollar franchises, Zahid. I mean, and that's not just captaining of Faisalabad Wolves. Okay, you're captaining a franchise that, one, is watched the world over globally. It's a massive brand that you're representing, and two, there's so much money that gets pulled, that gets injected into it, that you're very answerable to a lot of those investors, right? I mean, there's a whole different kind of pressure that they have, because lots of players have backed you, have paid for you in the auction process, have trusted your judgment when selecting other players. They've put all their money in, and
Yeah.
then you have sponsors, investors, owners, all that, and they put a lot of pressure, right? You have all those investors you're answerable to, and imagine that for players who don't even make it to your first 11 in for so long, like Sanju Samson, who's, I think, an IPL winning captain as well.
Yep.
So it's just, the pedigree they have. Go on the Instagram page, and the following that they have is unprecedented. I mean, way more than even our superstars at the top. So that's why I certainly say that these players are already superstars, right, in a different kind of way. So which makes them more adept at handling pressure. So, I mean, look, India, there's not much to say other than the fact that the batting looks always ominous. The bowling, I mean, yeah, we talk about Bumrah, and then, but then I think yes, in Test cricket, you have an argument that you're over reliant on Bumrah, but I think Siraj has quelled that a bit. But in T20s and ODIs, you can't say that.
Yeah, no, I mean and I think part of the, especially in these conditions, is a lot of the burden is taken off by the spinners who do a remarkable job.
Remarkable.
And I think especially against Pakistan, I think like of Kuldeep and the new version of Varun Chakravarti and these guys, I think they'll play a massive role. I mean, Pakistan cannot play Kuldeep Yadav. Similar to the Afghanistan bowlers, is the same thing with Kuldeep, that Pakistan are absolutely clueless against him. So I think, yeah, there is going to be, and Bumrah, he might not take wickets, but then he won't go for runs, and then the pressure builds, and you try and go after the spinners, and you end up losing wickets, and that's just the pattern. Which, I mean, Bumrah wasn't there in the Champions Trophy ODI, but it was a similar situation where Pakistan kind of bogged themselves down and then ended up losing wickets in a bunch, right? So again, the same thing in the World Cup 23, different formats, but still, and I think that's the issue where you'll have such high quality bowling that you just don't get any rest by. And yes, on paper, the fact is Bumrah is so far ahead of the others, and the others are actually pretty good as well, right? Even Pandya, he does well against Pakistan. He always gets big wickets. Remember Imam ul Haq in 23, Babar Azam in the Champions Trophy. He got a few wickets again in that Melbourne MCG game. That celebration against
Heather
India.
Ali, Heather Ali is the one. No, but yeah, and don't forget, I mean, the wicket, Fakhar Zaman's wicket in 2024.
Yeah,
That's the biggest of them all.
yeah,
And that was actually fab
yeah.
bowling. Short,
So I think
short.
that's the thing, right? The gap is, I mean, Bumrah is so far ahead, but still the others are more than decent. I mean, they won the Champions Trophy without Bumrah, right? So that shows it. So I think, yeah, it's there's not much more I can say. I mean, we've been very, very, very negative in Pakistan, very, very, very bullish on India, but we're not doing this for views or anything. It's just a fact. I
No,
mean,
it is fact. All right, it's
it
fact.
is. I mean, look
Honestly,
at Pakistan emphatically beat UAE by 25 runs, and India beat them by what, in 4 overs.
it's so bad that India
And
beat them by
this
nine
UAE team
wickets.
beat.
India beating them by 9 wickets, that scoreline doesn't even do justice. It should be, as you say, India beat them by 16 overs. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know,
They should show the net run rate next to the
it's
margin
over 10.
because,
Isn't it over 10?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, this UAE team, they beat Bangladesh a few months ago, right? Like 3-0 or something. I think they beat them. They beat them in a T20 series. This UAE team. So they're not, they're not that bad. Um, but uh,
But
but yeah,
look,
I
I mean,
think
look, we've talked about the Tri Series. We've talked about, and the fact that, we've talked about the intent is there. So
yeah.
let's just
Okay,
trust the
can I just
process.
make one final point? I think is again with these memes that are going around. We mentioned India being so far ahead. The talk of the tournament has now been around who's the number two team in Asia, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion, right? Who makes the final with India, right? Now,
There are
no,
all
I
these
was saying,
jokes
look,
around.
the point I was trying to make was, look, let's just the last point we just touch on, if we could, is just on the toss. And how important will the toss be? I'm not even sure Pakistan or Indian. I mean, India probably do, but what will Pakistan do if they win the toss?
Look, I think the issue actually is, and I'll give you local insights from the UAE, is
There we go.
it is very, very humid. It is hot and humid. And although in Sharjah, but I think Sharjah was an exception because of the pitches. I think this will be wind toss, feel first, because there is just so much humidity, so much dew, that yeah, I think will make a big difference, similar to the 2021
So there you
T20
have it.
World Cup.
The local expert, ladies and gentlemen. You won't get that on any other cricket channel, that's for sure. And then there's not much more for me to say on top of that. I mean, there you go. That's the expert opinion, right?
That is my thought.
Expert
But then,
opinion. All right.
there are all these spinners playing, so I don't know what's happening. Whether they got some magic spray in the ground or something which negates the dew, but it is very, very humid. I don't even know why they're doing this tournament at this time of the year. I don't know how these guys can play. Um, but yeah, I think that's win toss, feel first. Likely a T20 World Cup 2021 repeat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. Look, all right.
Yeah,
Well, look,
especially with no games in Sharjah. So no games in Sharjah, no spinning tracks. So I think that's kind of what it is.
I mean, um, I actually don't think that's a bad thing if you're Pakistani, right? Because Kuldeep Yadav in Sharjah. See you later. The only point in Sharjah that benefited, I think, players in Pakistan would be the fact that the boundaries are shorter, because we somehow struggle with hitting
Yeah.
big sixes. But anyways, we can't control that now, can we? Look, big game on Sunday. I'm trying not to get excited about it, but obviously from a cricketing perspective, it's good to see high quality action at the international level, and let's hope it lives up to its billing, because it hasn't for a decent while.
Can we just before we wrap up, I guess do some quick predictions.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. First India Pakistan match. I assume we're both going one way.
Yes, I think it's one way, and
Okay.
it's not the highway. It's India. Yeah.
Finalists. I didn't say winner. I said finalists.
Because that's the tougher one. Right? Winner's easy. India. The finalists. I think I have enough confidence in myself to think that I see it 3 times. India, Pakistan. I'm not sure. I'm tempted to say India, Afghanistan actually, but I think you're going to say that, so I'll say India, Pakistan. I think there is enough in that, because I think Afghanistan's batting is just a bit raw. Not raw. I mean, it's not clicking, right? I think Afghanistan's batting is not clicking. So that, for me, makes me wonder whether Pakistan have a bit of an opening if they can get over that mental block that they had previously, until the final started to develop against Afghanistan's spinners. So I'll say Pakistan. There is Sri Lanka. I'm not discounting them either, but I know what you'll say, so I want to be different. India,
Yeah,
Pakistan.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, India, Afghanistan for me. I think Pakistan will have a. They'll get there. They'll probably win the 2 games against Oman and UAE, and they'll lose to India, and they'll probably beat Bangladesh, and they'll have a must-win game against Afghanistan. And they'll lose it, and like they did against Sri Lanka
What
in
about Sri
23, I think.
Lanka?
I don't know. I think they. Who did they play against? They played against Bangladesh recently, right? They had a close series against them. They won. They lost the T20 series against Bangladesh, I think, or they lost 1 or 2 games. I don't know. It's inconsistent.
I agree.
I
Had they
always
been playing
underrate
in
Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka, I would have had a different answer. But I think in the UAE, I think it's tough.
Yeah, yeah. So, for me, I'm not even sure they're going to get past the group stage. For me, it's going to be that Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, the Nagin derby, which will decide who goes through.
What a weird random derby, but yeah, there you go. I mean, that's probably more exciting than the traditional one, but never mind. Yeah, look, I agree with that. And India to win, I guess you.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. I mean, India, Afghanistan final, Afghanistan against India. Is there ever
We
any
know what
doubt?
happens. We know what happens. And people will start mentioning mentioning the Serena Hotel. uh, what am I? No, no, no. We all know what happens when they get together. But look, let's see. Part of me thinks it's not going to be India Pakistan, but so I think you have more conviction on your prediction than I have of mine. Let's put it that way. Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. And you think India Pakistan will play twice instead of thrice? And you think both times India will win, or will it be 1-1?
No. Both times India will win. Yeah, I mean the gap has never been wider.
The game's never been wide. I think it's going to be 3-0 to India if Pakistan makes it to the final. But let's see. I don't know what's worse, actually. Making the final and losing 3 times in the same series to India. I don't know. I don't know. But in any case, let's look forward to. And we will obviously, no doubt, connect post the game on Sunday. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.